And here's its replacement. It's from 1998, so it's the very last of the line of the old school brick Volvos. And it was 950 quid. But the question is, how much Volvo does that buy you in 2024? Sure, it's badged as an S90. I suppose that was to make it fit in above the V70 and the S70, because by this point the estate would have been the V90, but it's a 960. They're not fooling anyone. It isn't even facelifted, I don't think, over the very last of the line 960s. Well, as you can see, first impressions, pretty good. There is a real howler on the bodywork. We will come to that a little bit later. I was going to clean it up so it looked all nice, but I thought I'd show it to you. Just how it looks. As it is, I might wash it later and show you what it looks like then. I mean, there's a few scratches and scrapes on it and stuff like that, but it's what, 26, 27 years old? It's going to have them. I mean, it's from 1998. It's done remarkably well. The only thing that is weird is around the back. How the heck's that happen? Look, it's on the panel below the boot, but there isn't anything here. Well, no mark's big enough to do anything like that. And the boot doesn't quite sit flush, but it doesn't leak, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And there's a dent on the bonnet, which doesn't really notice when you stand back from it. A few scratches, which camera isn't really even showing. I mean, I've got a bit of polish on it, a coat of wax. Seems to be doing the trick, but as I said, it's nearly 30 years old, so we can forgive it that. The pinstriping's coming off, big deal, but I can probably do that one weekend myself if I get really, really bored. The way to do it is you get, well, just off Amazon, eBay, anywhere, just pinstriping in the right colour, go for a fraction wider than what's actually on the car, and then you use the existing one as a guide. Now, somebody was clearly worried about the bumper picking up scrapes and scratches, and apparently they're all like this because it's got a big old overhang from this point. You're in the car, you can only really see this far even if you crane your neck, so I'm not criticising the previous owners driving, or previous owners driving, but the way they got around it was horrible. Look at what's that? So I can only assume Grandad, whoever had it, kept having scrapes, so someone said, I've got a great idea, I'm going to drill this horrible, cheap, nasty rubber stripping onto the bumper to stop it from happening. That would have been fair enough if the scrapes weren't already there, but the whole bumper's horrible. These are rare, but they're not that rare. I've already found a few breakers that can get hold of one of these bumpers in the right colour, so that's probably what I'm going to do. And the front spoiler's been in the wars too. That should be sitting flush, not hanging down like that. I can probably salvage the bumper and take it off and sand it down and fill in the little holes from here and spray it and lacquer it and make it look all nice again, but can I really be bothered? No, it's just going to be easier to go to the breakers. Supplied by Kings, look at that, dealer sticker just about intact. And they were the local Volvo dealers where I grew up. My dad had a string of cars from them in the 90s and early noughties. This has got a mind of its own as well. The motors for those things are very, very delicate. And pretty much every one you see, they're stuck in a weird position or they don't move at all. So that will be done eventually, but it's quite low down the list of priorities at the moment. And when you get inside, the first thing that strikes you is the smell. It sort of smells like a second-hand bookshop in Cambridge. I suppose Volvo knew their audience. And it's got 94,000 or so miles on the clock. Well, 94,500. So it's still pretty young in Volvo terms. And a lot of people moaned about the interior build quality of these things, but honestly, I think it's fine. You know, it's a little bit creaky here and there, that kind of thing, for example. And that, we're going to very, very, very carefully take that out, is the cup holder. And I'm told that is one of the few ones in existence which isn't broken. So make the most of that. There we go. Keep it relatively steady there, so it can be your new phone lock screen, should you so wish, because I'm never going to get that out again. Heated seats don't work. Sad face. But the buttons work, so that's one thing. And yes, I've checked the fuse, it's definitely not that, because the fuse for these is absolutely fine. And can you hear that incessant ticking? Volvo reminding you to put your seatbelt on. I kind of like that about Volvos of this era, how they lecture and tut at you. You know, it's all part of the character. And if you heard that beep, I can only assume it's something to do with this, because at some point this had a car phone fitted. And I believe up here that is probably the mic. And yeah, you can see there where it was mounted on the side. So I assume it would have stuck out like that. Would it have gone in the way of the radio controls? I don't know, and I don't really care. But one other thing, the air conditioning works. And that performed for us. Thank you very much. It must have been listening. It's also getting quite annoying. I've got the National Trust sticker and the lifeboat sticker there because not very many people know this, but if an old Volvo is presented to the MOT without one, you will actually fail it. And on a lot of these, you get this really loud ticking sound when you first start them up. It comes from the hydraulic lifters as they find their level, and they can get pretty noisy. It even warned you about it in the manual. I think if it goes on for more than 15 minutes or something like that, you need to get worried. Sometimes mine ticks, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm going to start it up and see what it's going to do. You can hear the horrendous exhaust. I'll get to the horrendous exhaust in a little bit, but no ticking today, it's not in the mood. And let's check out the manual. Break-in period. I think we're a little bit past that. I'm sure someone will comment, 94,000 miles, not even broken in for a Volvo. B6304S engine, that's what we've got. This engine features hydraulic valve lifters, which means that valve clearances is adjusted automatically. Don't know why I'm speaking like the JML man. It is possible that the valve lifters will produce a ticking sound for the first few seconds after the engine is started. I'm going to stop now. While the oil pressure is increasing. If the car has not been used for a long period of time, this ticking sound may last up to 15 minutes. There, see, I wasn't talking nonsense. All the trim survived pretty well in here though. The only thing that's annoying me way more than it should is that premium sound system. It's faded to white. It should actually be gold. But the radio itself, it sounds absolutely lovely. It works really well. Well, it works. The radio function doesn't work all that well. I mean, as in, it doesn't work at all. I took the boot apart to get to that thing and unplugged everything, cleaned up the contacts, and I even got out the multimeter and probed it. Thought, well, it's still got power to it, so, you know, I was quite proud of it. So I took apart the boots, tried to get to the radio that's actually hidden within that wing, and probed it with a multimeter and thought, well, it's got power to it, but the auto changer and the cassette deck still works, and then realised, yeah, I forgot to actually check if the aerial was still attached. So that's on the list. Lamber light time. Now, if you didn't know Volvos and you saw that, you'd think, what the bloody hell is that thing? It's a symbol for Lambda in the Greek alphabet. And Volvo, when they were very, very proud of it, they put Lambda Sond on the front of their cars with that logo. And it just meant that the car had a catalytic converter, pretty much. I think that's the case anyway. I'm sure somebody, if I'm wrong, will correct me in the comments. In the last channel that I had, I actually ripped on these later 24 valve 3 litre engines a little bit. I said that they're as reliable as the weather. Well, I think I actually used slightly more not safe for work terminology than that, but I'm not going to go into that now. The real, Volvo bros, they prefer the red top engine because they say that they're a lot more reliable, and they probably are. But I spoke to a friend of mine who knows these really well. He's had 2 or 3 of them. And basically, if you maintain them properly, you're not an idiot, and you really, really, really keep on top of the cooling system, you'll be fine. You want to keep on top of the cooling system of any car, but the reason you especially want to keep on top of the cooling system of these is they really, really, really do not like getting hot. If that temperature gauge ticks over beyond the halfway point, from what I've heard and from what I've read, you just as well throw the car away. And another reason is it's not just the radiator we've got here, as was the style at the time. We've also got a gearbox cooler. So if your radiator goes or your cooling system goes for whatever reason, not only do you potentially lose the radiator and cook the car, you also take out the gearbox. Great. I also had a Peugeot 605 that was like that, which I did manage to cook and didn't take out the gearbox. And the reason why some of these cars had cooling issues was the pressure cap. It leaked very slightly, or it just wasn't up to task, And they did put out a later revised one, and I'm pretty sure I've got the later one because it's that very fetching aquamarine colour, as you can see here. So I believe that's the later one, but I will check at some point. And with that in mind, this car is not going very far until I sort this out. That pipe looks like it's just starting to delaminate there. You can see it on the camera pretty clearly. And another reason why I really don't want to take this very far at the moment is this, that aux spout. I don't know if you can see, but we're quite badly cracked. And from memory, these engines are very interference, even if the aux spout goes. So I'm going to be getting that sorted fairly soon. Volvo are even able to supply me with one. Volvo themselves, that I was pretty impressed with. It's even got new tyres on it. One of the first things I normally have to do when I buy a car is replace the tyres, but these are all right. They're actually Toyo Proxy Comfort, so they're half decent too. You probably can't see much, and I imagine most of the details lost on the old camera phone. But camera phone? When was the last time you heard someone say that? About 2007 probably. But the discs are in very, very poor condition, and the pads are pretty much metal on metal, if not already. And the caliper on this side is completely seized. I shouldn't have really driven it back, but I didn't know it was as bad as it was when I had to look at it. And the back plates as well, as you can see, have completely had it. So I managed to source a replacement for everything really. Discs, pads, calipers, and the back plates. The back plates, weirdly, are the most difficult part to find. I'm going to have a coffee to pep myself up to get this thing cleaned. Hopefully the next time you see this, it will actually be on the road. And cleaned, well, kind of looks like this. Yeah, as you can see, it's not absolutely perfect, but we knew that already. But with a little bit of polish and wax that I did earlier, comes up very well. Not too shabby at all, really, is it? Especially not for what I paid for it. So there you have it. That's how much Volvo you can get for £950 in 2024. And if you have enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel going forwards and watch the progress of the car, then write something on your calendar to remind you in the kitchen, so when you're making a tea in the morning you go, oh, I'll go back and look at that stupid channel I found with the knackered Volvo.